sir. Fine. Sit down. Mr. Shihab, the teacher of English of Abdulmatin stood as an examiner here for the assessment of speaking, which is implemented by CPS. What's your name? What's yours? So your names are Muhammad Najah and you are candidate. Okay. We are Fuad Ibrahim, you are candidate. Najah, what's the ambition?
So my ambition is to be a doctor. I'd like to perform in the medical field to serve the patients, not money-based, but to as a service, social service, because I have seen my parents, my relatives, my parents in our areas who have suffered with due to lack of medication. So that's it.
So do you take this job as a passion? You want to take this job as a passion?
Yes, it's my passion. I work for it.
You will work for it. You will grow it.
Sure.
Master Fuad, tell me something about your family.
My family consists of 7 members. My mom, my dad. I got 4 brothers and 1 sister. I love my family so much. They have been a huge part of my life so far. They have influenced me in my all-round development, especially my brothers, since I get to have some time enjoying myself with them and speaking with them and expressing my feelings to them. And of course, I can't forget my father and mother for taking good care of me, bringing me up, providing me with the best education that they could afford. And at the same time, my sister, and I want to mention her for being a good sister to me, and even though boys are boys, but sometimes sisters.
You have wonderful days ahead again. Now we are going for the next task of this assessment. Candidate A, you will present the topic that you are prepared. Once you are finished, candidate B would ask one question, and I also would ask some more questions.
So,
would you like to begin, please?
yes, sir. So I would like to speak upon the demonetization in India. It's a current affair going on. Demonetization is the stripping down of the currency to a legal status of legal tender, means in making it invalid. In current situation, on the November 9, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi declared that the currencies with denomination of rupees 500 and rupees thousands are going to be demonetized. The people were stunned at the news. The social medias were filled with information based on the demonetization, questioning and criticisms for it, or in English at that time. And moreover, it caused a miserable hour for the Indians, as the people were standing in long queues in front of the banks, and they were informed they could only withdraw rupees 4,000 as an exchange to the money that they have in their hands. And the plan was initiated with the best intention for the cashless economy, where the money can be transferred with the low amount of the cash in more debit or credit cards. But still, it is a question arises in the mind of Indians: was the execution was properly efficient, or is it a total reform?
Thank you. Candidate B, you can ask a question about the topic, what he has presented.
Master Najah,
Yes.
what are the perceptions of demonetization to the average Indian?
To be frank, as an average Indian, a person could have 2 types of visions. One, if even though the person has been harassed and they have been troubled by the act of demonetization, they have been troubled. But in the long run, of course, it could be a good pleasure for them, because the proper enabling of this act would remove the black money as well as the corruption from India. In the long run, it will save. But in other ways, as the former Prime Minister and the Finance Minister, that Mr. Dr. Manmohan Singh said, the demonetization had caused the loss of 2% of the present GDP in our country. So it is also, he described this as a hallmark failure. So in the long run, we should check the 2 visions. As an Indian, it was both a success as well as a failure.
The whole media presented this demonetization as a cash crunch, and the people suffered too much. And we could see the serpentine queue in front of banks and ATM tellers, and it proved that it was a false and faulty execution. Do you believe that? Was it efficient or was planned very beforehand?
So, my answer on your question is that the initiating of the problem means the idea of demonetization was the perfect. It had a best intention because the removing of the black money could make a new India, a better India. But the efficiency of the execution wasn't to that level. That's why it had resulted in the Tughlaq reform. Like the Prime Minister of the country has been referred as Muhammad bin Tughlaq, who has been ruler who initiated such.
The long 50 days, that was the date which was set by the Prime Minister when it was executed. After the long 50 days, could it bring the desired result of the government?
To be frank, it had not bring the desired result, even though the problem was declared at November 9 and the deadline was given at December 30. The government was failed to acquire the target, means the execution wasn't proper. That's why it resulted in a crash.
Very good, thank you. All right. Can be you can present your topic now.
Thank you, sir. Obama versus Trump, American icons.
Wonderful topic.
Barack Obama won the White House in 2008 in good measure on the promise of systematic change, not just to rescue an American economy from the throes of the Great Recession, but in a strategic theater marked by unjustified wars, torture, and violations of international laws and norms. For the global human rights community, there was an anticipation that the new administration would work to restore the most egregious violations of the U.S. Despite the hope generated by his famous speech in 2009, promising a new beginning to America's relationship with the Muslim world, Obama's presidency was marked by banality and continuity rather than change. Not only did this administration refuse to hold anyone accountable for the unconscionable violations in Bush years, it continued and even ramped up many of its policies. The lowlights of his administration on human rights are scale use of drone strikes on outside active war zones, sale or supply of weapons more than any administration since World War II. Cannot look forward rather than back, precisely because they continue too many past policies rather than learning from and changing them. With regards to Trump, could Trump broadly dismantle the human rights regime both in USA and the world? Certainly, if his public statement regarding torture, Guantanamo, immigration, refugees, women's rights, healthcare, and freedom of press map on to an administration policy, there's too much to worry about. With that, I can conclude my speech.
All right, candidate A, you can ask one question about the topic what he has presented right now.
So, the question is, Mr. Fuad, if you're represented as an American, what will be your perceptions on what we can expect from the present President Donald Trump?
You see, for a long time, Trump was known to be an acclaimed racist, feminine hater, and a Muslim misogynist, how to put it. He does not respect the ethnicity and religious views of other people, and he's in favor of white supremacy, thinking that whites are the most civilized race in the world. And the fact that he was elected as a president proves that the U.S. had entered into a regime that was acclaiming the far right, an extremist group that hate Islam and all of that. So, as an average American, not only a good American, a good American citizen.
All right. When our Obama, when he ascended the throne, when he came to power, his whole regime, the long 8 years, was completely awful for the entire Americans as well as for the entire world. And the reverse happened when our Donald Trump came to power or ascended the throne. how do you look forward the regime of our Donald Trump?
You see, with regards to your question about Obama, Obama did not fulfill his promises and dues. He said that he would promise a new, he promised a new change. He would mark a new beginning for America, not just rescuing its economy, but at the same time improving its relationship with other countries. But the opposite really happened. So many countries got into unjustified wars, and so many violations was committed by the US government to which no one could question.
Mr. Fuad, we have living examples. Actually, there was no diplomatic relationship with Cuba for a long years, with Hiroshima for a long years. That means Japan, and with Iran for a long years. And when Obama came to power, he had a very diplomatic relationship with all these countries. It means that Obama could bring all this country, which had long animosity between the two, it took so closer and closer together. It means that it has a better claim that Obama's rule or regime was far better than the person who will be going to rule the coming days.
And as far as your perceptions of Obama, actually you're seeing the half full cup, not the half empty. Of course, I'm agreeing with you on the fact that he created so many diplomatic relationships with countries that were long considered to be enemies of US, but at the same time he created a lot of other enemies instead of creating new friends, such as Syria. Now, Obama could have prevented the war in Syria. He could have prevented the war in Libya. He could have prevented the war in Yemen, but he couldn't do it. Why? Because he thought that it was in the best interest of the United States, not giving any thought to the lives of the people who are right now suffering a lot due to his lack of leadership.
To conclude, I would like to say that either Obama or Donald Trump, they all will be moving according to the desired interests of the White House and the Pentagon Circle. Am I right?
The White House. As far as Donald Trump goes, I think he made good on two promises. One is banning of Muslims in the United States, and second one is building of the wall on Mexico. But even though he didn't implement them, he couldn't implement them, he had the vigor to implement them. And as far as his other promises, we'll say about it, and we'll see how the world will get affected by it.
All right. Now we are going for the third task of this assessment. I'm going to give a card for you on which one problem is written. The problem which is written here, I'm going to read for you. Some students are having a fight in the playground. With your friends, discuss. What could be done to pacify them? How can you persuade them to be more sporting? Here is a problem. Can discuss with each other and come to a conclusion within 2 minutes.
So, we were
All right.
can it be Fuad?
You have come to a conclusion.
Come to a conclusion, but he will answer.
Get it again.
All right.
So first, is this how we can use to persuade them to be more sporting? So according to my view, I will say first we will sermonize them. What are the values of good sportsmen? The main intention in the sportsmanship. Since people learn from the mistakes, we can make them know how they could acquire more sportsmanship and the cooperation between them as friends.
All right. Do you agree with this solution?
Of course, agree with it all the way. You see, in sports, it's quite common that fights happen. But at the same time, it's also common to pacify people and teach them the values of a good sportsman. You know, since sports unite the people. Sports cooperate between people, help them to realize that there's no need to fight. It's just a game. whoever wins, wins, and whoever loses always has the second chance.
That's
All right. And see, have you ever witnessed such kinds of fighting on the playground anywhere?
Of course. And I also happen to take part in fights also, but it's part of the game, part of sports. You know, nothing major happened. We just got.
Would it grow apart from fighting, apart from this sport, or it leads to any other animosity?
No. Like at that particular moment when we get into a fight and our friends come and separate us and calm us down and pacify us. At that time, it's our anger that takes the control of us.
You believe that it's not a rivalry, it's a permanent rivalry, right?
Yeah, it's not.
It will be done from there and forget from there itself, right? This is the end of your assessment. Thank you.